Hello, good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television Ibadan. My name is Oluwayemi Adelako. You're welcome on board this morning.
And I'm Paul Hido. Today promises to be exciting with conversations from across the country. We'll take you through what's breaking and what's developing across the newspapers. And subsequently, we also have different segments on the show, talk about the newspaper headlines and analysis and every other thing you are set to see this morning.
Exactly, and of course, for our gist this morning, we have a very important topic to discuss. Residents try to cross over water after Moro Bridge collapsed in Ilorin, Kwara State. It's a gory sight, and then you'd almost think it's a joke, maybe AI or something, but it's a real video, and something like that is happening in a country like Nigeria. And afterward, we move to the big story, of course, with our guest, Ofino Eboselume, and of course, we're going to discuss why certain leaders decide to stay long in power. Is it helping the nation, or is mere sabotage for the nation?
Of course, that is a conversation we'll also look up to this morning, because the big story would have leadership, longevity, assets or liability to Nigeria's democracy. In an era where recycling political figures remains the norm, we examine whatever and whether the patterns and veteran politicians stabilize governance or stifle new leadership. That conversation promises to be an interesting one this morning.
And after that, we cross to Trend Watcher before we see our BY on the show, where we look at what's trending in the world of politics this morning.
Of course, right. Let's get into it this morning. Good morning, Yemi. Morning.
Good morning, Hannah. Well done.
Yeah, now, I'm personally excited today for many reasons, but some people will understand why I'm this excited, and it's about something that's not happened in 22 years. Anyway, it's one of the, if you check everywhere across the news platform, Twitter, everywhere, it's trending that 22 years after Arsenal became the champions of England. That's particularly the Premier League champions. Meanwhile, that's just one story on the one hand. But now we move on to the conversation of the day. And it's something quite interesting to see that residents trying to cross over water after Moro Bridge collapsed in Ilorin, Kwara State. If you see the video, not very well. I mean, there's no way to say this is sensible. I'm not seeing logic in it, how people had to put their lives on the line just to cross. And a lot of questions are coming from different angles to say, so where are your leaders? Where are the constituency representatives for that region? What are they doing? And that's one. Has this been lodged to the authorities? Do they know about this? Because why should people, because if you see the torrents of water, I'm not sure if you fall, you'll be able to, breathe 5 minutes inside that, because the torrent was quite heavy and you could see a lot of persons trying to do a lot of things. Now, some people have also made, they've made fun of this issue to say there's a particular person, the person must have crossed from Libya before, because the way the person was handling the bridge, the collapsed bridge, was something to write home about. But all of these conversations are, some maybe just a reflection of what it is in the political space, particularly in governance in the country. Because if we have to say that we have leaders in communities, we have representatives who should look to how well the communities managed, or perhaps infrastructures like bridges. I'm not sure we should have this conversation. That's one. On the other hand, if we have to really table this matter and probably intrinsically, or should we say empirically, check it out, one thing we'll discover is we need to question some people. Who are the people? One, who did the project? So how many years did the person give? Because for every major project you do, you give like a warranty kind of thing to say, this based on what we have done and what we have tested it to perform or to withstand, this should take nothing less than 10 years or 100 years or 50 years, whichever the case is. And that should inform that after 50 years, the next thing to do is proper maintenance, sometimes maybe reconstruction, if so to say. We understand that, yes, there's a routine maintenance, which we should come almost every now and then, but there's also that major maintenance after that expiration that's been given by the construction company that built the bridge. So that's also on the table of conversation to say, yes, the people, the contractors that did this, how many years did they give as the warranty for this thing? How long did they say it will last? So if they are culpable in that sense, then we can hold them by their word, because you gave us your word to say Nigerians can apply this bridge for as long as this moment we have put on the review is still in place. So that's a conversation. Questions should be asked. Whoever gave the project else, whoever disbursed the fund, whoever got the money, whoever did the project, the contractor, everybody. You know, like they say, like police will carry everybody. They should really carry people in this kind of situation, because at this age and time, this is unacceptable. We understand that certain instances can happen that due to natural occurrences. We don't have power and control over those ones. But the major ones of maybe bridge collapsing just all of a sudden because there's a rainfall somewhere or the other, I'm not sure this should be something we should just look and just overlook and say, okay, it's normal, it's natural. It's not natural in this sense. Whoever did the project should be accountable. We need answers. Questions are being put on the table for people that should really do the work. So if you have done a bad job, then it's time for you to now come and respond to Nigerians to say how this happened and maybe going forward what you intend to do for the people.
Exactly, and of course, just like I mentioned, when I saw the video yesterday, I saw that people were actually risking their lives to actually cross over, and then you wonder the measures put in place by the state government, for issues like this, and then what is being done, to restore the fallen bridge. Because at the end of the day, if people have to risk their life like that, I remember there was a time in this Ibadan when a bridge around Akwete, the bridge had issues, and then rain fell on one particular day, and then a lot of people died. They lost their lives. Because why? Some persons could not wait, for the river to actually, be calmer. They couldn't wait for things to be in a better shape. They just wanted to cross over, and then they led to the death of so many persons. So it speaks to the fact that if you look at these governors, most of them, they are done with their second term. Some are even looking for another term. They are more concerned about 2027. They are more concerned about the campaign. They are more concerned about the candidates they want to anoint. They are more concerned about primaries, and then they forget that these people that you fail to cater for are the ones that are supposed to come and vote. So it's really sad, because at the end of the day, it should be a symbiotic relationship between the leaders and the people. If people are supposed to vote for you and put you in power, you should be able to protect their lives and properties. So then, if you fail that aspect of social contract, because according to John Locke, there should be a social contract. The people should vote for you, and in turn, when they vote for you, you should be able to cater for them. You should be able to protect their lives and properties. So if the people do their own aspect of the bid and you are unable to fulfill that, it's really sad. Look at what is happening in your state. Look at what is happening in other states. To that bridge, I thought it was, at first I thought it was AI. I never thought it was real, because so many persons were even shocked to say that people, I don't know, I'm very sure there are some people who will not cross that bridge because their heart cannot take it, because they are so scared whether they are going to make it or not. I mean, the way it's even standing is not standing really well. So is that the best that the state government can come up with? Or maybe they are working on something better to ensure that people can actually cross over? I believe that, for every year, for every state, there's a budget for things like this. So what is going on, with the budget? Is it that they are not getting, enough? But then I want to believe that the president at the time said, hold your governors accountable. I mean, they are collecting more allocation than ever before. Some are collecting over 100% increase, some over 50% increase. So, I mean, you have more than enough to cater for things like this. If at all, you say insecurity is beyond your power, you are doing all you could. But what about this that can actually, lead to people getting injured or losing their lives? Because it is very risky. And then if some persons cannot even cross that, I'm very sure of that. Those who decided to cross are probably people who don't have any other choice, because they know they have to cross over. So I think the government should actually do better and provide a better solution, because at the end of the day, I think your first duty, as a governor, is to ensure that the lives of people. Look at that bridge now. Look at what people were trying to do to actually cross over. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. Look at the water very close to it. I'm not sure that thing is strong enough, and then those people, I give kudos to them, the fact that they were able to still, jump on it to even try to cross. I bet it with you, a lot of person, I'm not even seeing youths on that thing. The people I can see now, the majority of them are maybe probably people who are a little bit elderly, maybe in their late 40s or so. I'm not sure I can see one or two youths there. So it's not even about the youth or the elderly ones. It speaks to the fact that this is too risky for anybody. Imagine, at night when people, maybe when people are sleeping in their homes, what could happen to this thing? And then people will not even know. They come back in the morning and say, okay, since people crossed over yesterday, let's also try if we'll be able to cross over. I think the government should do something fast about the bridge, and then to ensure that they get, people, because at the end of the day, why is the bridge, collapsing? Because maybe it could be due to maybe excessive rainfall, maybe because we are in the period of rainfall. It could be due to the fact that maybe they need to actually get people who are very competent to handle the bridge this time around. Because I remember that Akwete bridge, they had to work on it severally before it became really stable. The bridge collapsed several times, I remember. Around that 2012, 2014, it was a terrible situation. As a matter of fact, some persons had to pack out of their house, around Akwete to just move to other areas because they felt, it's better they safeguard their lives first before their house. It's not a problem for them. Some people had to rent apartment outside of Akwete because they cannot afford to cross over, basically.
There's something called early warning systems, right? Even in, this is everywhere. This is something, it's a no-brainer. It's a common knowledge to everybody to understand that there's something called early warning systems, early detection systems. And these are in place because you understand that, yes, natural occurrences can happen. You can have instances where all of a sudden the rains, maybe there's a torrential rainfall that wouldn't stop for a long time. And then it starts, but what about early warning systems, especially to tell the people this is going to happen? If you look at countries where they have hurricanes, we have tornadoes and all of those natural events, they have built structures in place to tell them, so there's an alert for every 1 hour or a few minutes to that incident. There's an alarm that will go off in the whole community to say, so everybody already knows. So they've said it in the news that there's a chance for hurricane, this to happen, tornado, this to happen, because there are warning systems in place. And I think this is the way a sane society should run. To say, yes, we don't have everything under control. We are not gods in that sense, but the little we can have under our control are systems to guide us, structures to help us to see when these kind of issues happen, how do we manage it? Now, that's one. On the other hand, there's a bit of orientation or education that should also go out to the people. We've seen cases where a tanker falls and people are trying to scoop fuel. We've seen it in Nigeria, and sometimes you ask people say it's hunger. At the end of the day, your life is more important than that money you want to make at that instance, because you understand anything can happen from that. I'm so thank God nothing happened from that in the bad way. What if somebody of a few persons, or even everybody? Because I was even asking the question, why we did that plenty on that dilapidated structure? Now, if we were just about maybe 1 person, 2 persons, you can still say maybe the strength of that thing will be able to hold. But if you have a lot of people, almost like a gridlock trying to cross at the same time, there is more weight on that material, so it can even fail much further, and everybody will get tumbled into the water. And I think these are the things we should know as humans. As much as you have a place to go, as much as you want to go to work, you want to do something that early, it is also important to put into consideration your life, because without your life, I'm not seeing any possibility of you getting any of those things done anyway. So it's very important that we understand survival first, safety first, and every other thing follows. And again, I just would like to allude to one of the points you've made, and I think it's also interesting for us to see that every failure in society is a reflection of governance. And I think this is so true, because this is just a failure. And unfortunately, this is not peculiar to Nigeria. There's a particular place, I watched a documentary in DR Congo, where students have to travel. I wouldn't call it go to school. They have to travel to school for like about 3 hours on the road, and there's a particular bridge they cross. That bridge is just as this. So there's something they tie. The villagers have tied something, so the students will now be paddling it. Then you need to see the water, so they need to paddle every morning. That's what they do to get to school. Sometimes they don't get to school because maybe the torrent is too high, so everybody's afraid and they go back home. So what do you say to that? And this, I'm seeing this across Africa. Many African states, we have this as a culture that we can always survive. And I think that's one of the things our leaders would always ride on, to say, well, they will complain for a while, but they can still always adapt. And that's the problem. Because we've been adapting for so long, the standards have dropped. They have reduced us to mere people who just go with anything and will be okay. We just talk on social media and everything goes down the drain when another topic comes up. And that's the situation in the country. But you know, my plea now is to people in authority, government, local government leaders. We need you to do what you should do. We understand the autonomy, local government autonomy thing still being something to discuss, but much more so, can we first look at the most important commodity, or how should I say, resources in a country? Because it is not the natural resources, it is not the fuel in Nigeria, it is the people in Nigeria. That is the asset we have. That's the most valuable asset we can boast of in the country. We have about close to 250 million of that, and we are not making the best of it. In fact, we don't even care if they die or if they leave, because we've seen instances where, you know, just recently in Oyo State, we saw the abduction situation. Students that are supposed to be future leaders were taken weeks away in the bush, and a lot of and teachers as well. And you ask the question, really, where are we going? Because I know for one that we've seen documentaries and we've read in the news where the United States particularly would need to send everything they have just to get one member of their armed forces back into their country, one member of their community. They've come to countries and they've expatriated some of their members. They've taken them from the whims of shackles and the shackles of terrorists, or should we say terrorists. We've seen the case even in Nigeria. They come and then they take their people away just because they believe in the one single life that is an American. So an American life matters to the government so much so that they don't mind spending everything they have on just one civilian from their country. And I think this is the way to go to. If we start thinking of people as assets, as something very important, as people that could make a change in the country, then I think we should deploy everything we have in terms of resources, in terms of strength, in terms of power, in terms of support to the people. Because at the end of the day, the people are the ones that would be at the receiving end of this. They are the ones you are leading. But much more so, when they trust you with their votes, why not just try to do everything that that you can do to ensure that they still alive, they stay alive, they don't die just by crossing the bridge. You see, it's very unfortunate. I mean, this is Kwara State, for example, and you want to say this is just because there's a camera. What about places where you don't get to see the views of this? You see people risking lives, and you want to say there's a local government chairman in this place, so you want to say there are leaders in this place, and I don't know if they watch these videos. If you want, this is an old trailer, and you want to say this is how many feet high? Over 9 feet, 10 feet high. Is being submerged in the water. And I'm not even just saying this is the government's problem alone. I'm saying this is plus the government, plus the people. Because how do you intend to drive across this kind of water using that big vehicle? And you know, sometimes I say people want to survive, but much more so, why can't you just think about safety first, even while you survive? Because it's important at the end of the day, if you do everything you do, what matters is, are you still breathing? The moment you lose it, my dear, that's the end of it. And Nigeria has happened to you, unfortunately.
Look at those cars and those stocks and that water. It's really sad. Honestly, even if you can take a look at the other video, you see that it's quite synonymous with this, because people are obviously stranded. And from the reports that we got, this is not the first time that this bridge will collapse. But then the government has tried to repair. That's why I said that if at all repairing this bridge is not working, why not just start all over? You know, why not just start all over? Because that's the same issue that we are having with the national grid. Some persons are coming out to say, oh, that grid has been in existence for decades, and then we need to do something about it. So this bridge that keeps collapsing, just like the national grid, see, at the end of the day, whatever is happening in the state is a reflection of the problems that the people in the entire country are facing. Because if you look at this problem, it's not just about alone. There are other states who are also going through the same thing. I mentioned that Akwete Bridge too. It was like that. They were repairing it and then it was not working until they decided to just pull down everything and then start all over. Maybe that would be the best thing to do for this particular bridge. Yes, it will cost a lot of money, but I want to believe that there's money in the coffers of the government. If I thought there's no money, you can just seek help from the federal government, because I want to believe this video would have got into the presidency, and then they want to ask questions to say, what is actually going on. Why is this bridge in this particular state? Because we need to be very careful of this. If care is not taken, look at those cars stuck there. What's the chance that they'll be able to get those cars out maybe today or maybe tomorrow? It would have damaged a lot of things, because people are stranded, they cannot travel, the workers cannot go out, except people who can risk their lives on that dangling bridge. And then who says that that bridge will stand? People can still cross over it today with the state of the bridge yesterday. You mentioned the number of persons who are applying through. It's already weak, as it is now. And then, just like I said, I give kudos to them, because a lot of persons cannot even do it. They would rather sit down at home and say, okay, it doesn't matter. Whenever the bridge is back to normal, we will step out of our house. So basically, I think they need to do something about it. If repair is not going to work anymore, let's just pull down everything and then start all over, for the sake of the people. Because, Nigerians have been through a lot in the last few months. Look at the attack there and there. Even Kwara, that same state, Kwara is going through a lot. I know the governor is doing his best, trying to annoy the candidates that will come up after him, but then that's also good. But the people, at the end of the day, the so-called anointed candidates that you want to actually tell people to vote for, if people are not, how sure are you that majority of people in this area will come out to vote? And that's how we build political party. I'm not trying to excuse people who sit at home on election day, but then at the end of the day, there's a way you encourage people to come out and vote. All we do on this table, all the time is to say, when you don't come out to vote, you have no right whatsoever, to complain about whosoever wins the election. Because at the end of the day, it will be for your own benefit. And don't say, my vote, one vote, it doesn't count. No, it does count. Whether one vote or two votes, please come out to vote. So the governor should try his best to placate the people after this whole incident, to look for ways, to actually build this bridge, from the scratch and enable people just, go through it, without stress or without fear. Because at the end of the day, if you are so concerned about governance and you neglect the lives of the people, it's these same people that will come out and vote for you. That's why you have to be very intentional about the lives and properties of these people. People need to be in a good shape, a good state, to come out and vote. If people lose their family members, how do you expect such people to come out and vote? And that's why we have to be very, even this Oyo State, this current attack, we have to make sure that we get those people out on time, because some have even died in that process, and there's nothing to write home about, basically.
Well, lastly, I guess I'm just going to pitch my tent the way you pitch yours, to say this is also going out to people in authority, government, especially as they think about the election, because much more so, I think sometimes what they are more concerned about is politics and not governance. Because if they really put in the amount of time they put into politics, into governance, I'm sure Nigeria will have become better for it. But unfortunately, the situation has been, I want a candidate to be anointed by me, I want to flag off my party, I want to do this, I want to get nomination to go for the House of Reps or the Senate, whichever, and they are more interested in all of that. Everybody's possessed with ambition to do something, to become something. What about the ambition to save the lives of people? What about the ambition to save the property of the people that you are? Because that's one of the core essentials that you should do as a leader. So we understand this to be a thing, but we are also saying to everybody involved, let's do the right thing. It's not hard. It's not too difficult. It's not hard math. It's not further mathematics. It's something just as easy as trying to do everything you can to understand that, yes, the rains are here. And I don't want to sound like a prophet of doom, but I'm sorry, we might still have another occurrence in the course of time. Why? The rains are here. And we understand this. And this is not the first time Nigeria will experience rain. We've had a torrential rainfall. Remember, 1980, there was a situation in Ibadan, the Ogunpa flooding. It was a big one. In fact, the then head of state, I think it was Shehu Shagari at the time, came to Ibadan and said, this is a national disaster. He didn't call it natural. He called it national, because you have to, a lot of people lost their lives. I wasn't born in 1980, but from history, and I did a bit of study on that, and I discovered a lot of people died, a lot of goods and services had to be destroyed, and you want to ask, where will they get this? So yes, there were a lot of money that will being shared to people, owners of places to say to, but it would never be the same. Like they say in Yoruba, the scar point would never be like the normal flesh. It will still show, it will still reflect, and this is what we say. Instead of just wasting, you know how much, if that lorry that was submerged in that water was carrying something like a produce, like agricultural produce that can spoil, do you know that's a lot of money that's been wasted? And you want to imagine all of that too, and you want food to move across the borders from from Kwara to Oyo and to many other places. How can this happen when our roads are not good? How can we get food security when we don't even have farmers who are confident that they can transport their produce from one point to another point? So how do we ensure food production? How do we ensure food security in the country without good roads, without amenities? And these are the things here. These are points and these are issues that we should look into. Really.
Right, and I also think the government should be proactive next time, because the rain will get heavier even as we progress. This is still May. I mean, you get to September when it should be heavy rainfall, downpour, and things like that. The government should find a way to actually provide for situations like that, and basically hire competent hands for this, particular situation. I mean, yes, we want to try to manage money, but then hire competent people who can do this once and for all. Basically, I think it's a 5 point to leave that discussion this morning. It's time to turn to weather report, and of course we'll turn to Ibadan this morning and take weather there. Weather in Ibadan feels like 24 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 9%, and in the afternoon we have 32 degrees Celsius, showers around 46%. And that's massive. In the evening it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 2%, and overnight it drops to 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 20%. And that's all we have for Ibadan this morning.
And I'll take a drive of less than 2 hours to Lagos State, depending on who is driving and traffic. Anyway, in Lagos, the weather will feel like 30 degrees Celsius across board. And in the morning, it will start with 28 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly cloudy, and 20% humidity. And then in the afternoon, it will rise by 3 degrees Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius to become mostly cloudy. And then it will become partly cloudy with a drop to 28 degrees Celsius, about 3 degrees Celsius down to where it started from the morning. And then overnight, a further drop of just 1 degree Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius to remain partly cloudy at 17% in Lagos State today.
And from Lagos, we cross to Ekiti southwest, and weather feels like 23 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning is expected to be around 27 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 2%. In the afternoon, we have 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 8%. And in the evening, it drops to 24 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 3%. And overnight, it drops to 23 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 9%. And that's what we have for Ekiti this morning.
A slight difference between Ekiti and Kwara State at 25 degrees Celsius. Weather will be mostly cloudy in Ilorin West Kwara State today. In the morning, 29 degrees Celsius is what it starts with, expected to be mostly cloudy, and then it will rise significantly by 5 degrees Celsius to 34 degrees Celsius in the afternoon to become partly cloudy. It will remain partly cloudy in the evening, although it drops significantly to 27 degrees Celsius, and the further drop overnight will make it partly cloudy at 19%, humidity at 25 degrees Celsius in Ilorin West Kwara State today.
From Ilorin, we cross to FCT Abuja, and weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 32 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 7%. And in the evening, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 24%. And overnight, it drops to 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 3%. And that's what we have for FCT Abuja this morning.
And from Abuja now to Niger State, Suleja is where I land. The weather will be cloudy at 24 degrees Celsius across board. Then in the morning, 28 degrees Celsius is what it starts with, expected to be partly cloudy. Then in the afternoon again, it will rise by 33 degrees Celsius, rising by about 5 degrees Celsius more to become partly cloudy. And in the evening, it will drop back to 27 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy. Then a further drop will be experienced overnight by 2 degrees Celsius, drop to 25 degrees Celsius to become partly cloudy at 3% in Suleja, Niger State today.
And from Suleja, we cross to Kano Municipal, and weather in Kano this morning feels like 29 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning is expected to be around 33 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 39 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0% as well. And the evening, it drops to 32 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, we have 28 degrees Celsius, clear around 3%. And that's what we have for Kano Municipal this morning.
And I will take a slide to Maiduguri, Borno State at 28 degrees Celsius, where it will be mostly cloudy. In the morning, 35 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly sunny across many parts of Maiduguri, Borno State today. Then the further rise of about 5 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly sunny. And in the evening, a drastic change of about 9 degrees Celsius drop to 31 degrees Celsius, and then the weather will become clear, and overnight it will remain clear at 29 degrees Celsius in Maiduguri, Borno State today.
And that's a fine place to leave weather reports this morning. Thank you for being a part of this segment. We take a short break, and when we come back, we take the news. Don't forget to follow us across our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. Drop your comment. We're live right now on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be right back.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram at Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Hello and welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television, Ibadan. I'm Anu Luakpo Ido. Vice President Kashim Shettima has debunked claims that he plotted against President Bola Tinubu, revealing that some individuals allegedly told the president he planned to kill him and take over power shortly after they assumed office. Speaking at the launch of the autobiography of former head of state Yakubu Gowon, Shettima said the president dismissed the allegation after questioning the logic behind it. He added that the individuals whom he refused to name are from Borno State. The vice president urged Nigerians to promote unity and avoid actions capable of creating division in the country. Oyo State Governor Engineer Seyi Makinde has vowed that the state government will not surrender to terror following the abduction of pupils, students and teachers in Orire local government area of the state. The governor, while addressing journalists, said the government's priority remains the same and timely rescue of the victims, adding that authorities are open to dialogue with the abductors to secure their release peacefully. Governor Makinde disclosed that an operational center has been established at the Oyo State Police Command headquarters, where the Commissioner of Police will coordinate and provide verified updates on the rescue efforts. He also announced that 2 surveillance aircraft procured by the state government will become operational before the end of June to strengthen monitoring along the Oyo to Kwara border and the border with the Benin Republic. Meanwhile, the defense headquarters said terrorist groups have not established permanent operational bases in Nigeria's southwest, insisting that recent attacks in Oyo State were isolated criminal incidents. The clarification came after reports alleged the presence of entrenched terrorist bases in the southwest, particularly in the wake of the Oyo incident on May 15, 2026, where a total of 32 victims, consisting of 25 students and 7 teachers, were kidnapped after terrorists attacked 3 schools in the Orire local government area of Oyo State. Reacting in a statement, the Director of Defense Media Operation, Major General Michael Noja, said the attack did not reflect the existence of any permanent terrorist structure in the region, adding that earlier clearance operations in the old Oyo National Park had significantly degraded the capacity of criminal elements operating within that axis. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested former Minister of Power, Salim Maman, following his conviction and sentencing by the Federal High Court in Abuja over alleged financial misappropriation. EFCC Chairman Olaolu Koyede said Maman was arrested in Kaduna alongside 2 individuals accused of shielding him from authorities, while the residence where he was found is also under investigation. Maman was earlier sentenced to 75 years imprisonment over fraud and money laundering involving more than 33.8 billion naira, with the EFCC saying investigations are continuing to trace other suspects and recover alleged proceeds of crime. Oyo State Road Traffic Management Authority has launched the OYRTMA Youth Volunteers Program to promote road safety, behavioral change, and youth participation in governance across Oyo State. Representing Governor Seyi Makinde at the inauguration, Permanent Secretary General Administration Bode Ladipo said the initiative was introduced in response to rising road accidents, traffic congestion, and poor. Also speaking, OYRTMA Chairman Adeshagba Dikoya said 100 youth had been inaugurated as pioneer volunteers to serve as ambassadors for responsible road use and safety advocacy across the state. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Oyo State Rule of Law Agency, Adirunke Adiremi, urged the volunteers to remain disciplined, punctual, and avoid corruption while carrying out their responsibilities. 5 governorship aspirants of the All Progressives Congress APC in Oyo State have raised concerns about the conduct of the party's House of Representatives primary elections, alleging intimidation, manipulation of results, and imposition of candidates in parts of the state. Our correspondent Damlola Daudu has the details.
Governorship aspirants of the All Progressive Congress in Oyo State have condemned the conduct of the party's House of Representative primary election, alleging intimidation, imposition of candidates, and manipulation of results. The aspirants made the allegation while addressing journalists at the NUJ Press Center, Iyagokun, Ibadan, describing the May 16, 2026 primaries as flawed and capable of threatening the unity of the party ahead of the 2027 general election. The communique was jointly signed by the former former Deputy Governor of Oyo State, Rauf Olaniyan, Prince Musibau Asanike, Barrister Akim Agbaje, Dr. Ololade Usman Bakare, and Engineer Oyedele Akim Alao. The group alleged that many party members were prevented from voting through threat and violence, while some aspirants were allegedly disqualified without due process.
Regarding the House of Representatives primary elections conducted on the 16th of May 2026. The exercise intended to serve as a foundation for democratic representations has instead descended into a crisis of legitimacy characterized by systemic irregularities, procedural violations, and palpable erosions.
They also claimed that fabricated results were announced in some constituency within Okeogun, Ibarakba, and Oyo zones, where election reportedly did not hold. The aspirants warned that disregard for internal democracy could affect APC chances in the 2027 elections, while calling on President Bola Tinubu and the party's National Working Committee to intervene and ensure credible primaries in the state.
The APC in Oyo State stand at the critical crossroad. The choice before us is stark. Either we return to the path of internal democracy, inclusiveness, and fairness, or we continue on a trajectory that guarantees divisions, disillusionment, and electoral loss in 2027. We choose the path of justice, the path of the people, and the path of democratic integrity. The time for corrective action is now.
This is a family thing. We are not at war with anyone. I can tell you, APC in Oyo State will be fine, and we are going to get the future in 2027 election.
We are not opposed to consensus, and we are not opposed to direct primaries. We just want a fair process that will not lead to division within the party.
We are men of peace. Everybody here is a man of peace. We are looking for peace. We are men of progress. We are looking for progress for our party. We want our party to I repeat, singular target. The target is how will APC bounce back in 2027.
Damilola Dauju.
And now in business, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has dropped the price of jet fuel from 1,750 naira to 1,650 naira per litre. The company disclosed this in a statement made available to newsmen that the price drop was in addition to a 30-day interest-free credit facility backed by bank guarantees for marketers and airline operators, and a shift from a dollar-denominated pricing structure to a naira-based model. It added that the interventions come amid growing concerns over the rising operational costs faced by domestic carriers, with aviation fuel accounting for a significant portion of airline expenses. And in sports, Nigeria has been drawn in Group L of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, where they will face Madagascar, co-host Tanzania, and Guinea-Bissau for a place at the tournament. The draw was conducted at the headquarters of the Egyptian Football Association in Cairo, where it was concluded that a total of 48 teams will participate in the qualifiers, with the draw producing 12 groups and 24 teams qualifying for the finals. Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda will host the tournament from June 19th to July 17th, 2027, with the qualifying campaign to be played across 3 international windows. And that's about it on Daybreak News. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and X at Dominion Cast. And that ends Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm An Oluwapo Ido saying thank you for watching.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Following the recent abduction in Oyo State, the Defense Headquarters, DHQ, has come out to say there is no terrorist enclave in the southwest, and that's one of the claims that the Defense Headquarters has come out to make, of course, on the print this morning. And it's also not a conversation that is just one-sided. There are different angles to the story. Just about this morning, it was recalled that a 2-year-old was also part of the people that were abducted in that school in Orire local government area of Oyo State. Very sad, very unfortunate. But that's one of the topics also, and stories are making the rounds on the front pages of newspapers this morning. And of course, this is the newspaper headlines and analysis segment where we check into the print and bring you stories that are breaking and developing, but right and fresh from the newspapers. This morning, I will start with Nigerian Tribune newspaper, and of course, the front page, the frontliner says, DHQ says, no terrorist base in the southwest. And that's one conversation right there. The subwriter says, intensified search for abducted pupils in Oyo. IGP deploys more detective in community, and traditional rulers in Ogbomoso land demand military base, and 6 suspects in police nets. An article demands rescue of victims. NLC, PFN condemn attacks. That's also one of the breaking point of that conversation right there. So you can see on your screen. To get more read on that page 2 is where to catch up on that story. Not a very good one to start with. Meanwhile, Nigeria must not fall. Go on, tells Tinubu and other politicians. President IBB, Jonathan, others hail Gowon at autobiography. And of course, many things happened at that autobiography. The vice president as well was saying that yes, some people plotted against him, and the president saying that he wanted to kill the president and take over usurp authority. But he came out to debunk it yesterday that nothing like that happened between himself and the president. But that's also one of the conversations we're having. Meanwhile, Gowon has been tagged or perhaps quoted to say that Nigeria cannot fall, that all of these troubles that we're having is just one of those moments between the course of time that will still dissipate over the course of time. So that's what Gowon, the former head of state, has said, that Nigeria will stand against all odds and against all issues that it's facing. But we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that that is the reality, and Nigeria does not break a unified entity and the country that can serve the interests of the Nigerian people. Moving on from that now this morning, the NCAA issues Ebola alert, direct enhanced surveillance at airport. That's the body responsible for disease control and all of these issues. As we have it, Ebola has been making the rounds across regions in Africa, particularly the Democratic Republic of Congo. They've had a fair share of that, maybe not a fair one, but they've had their share of the cake of Ebola, and they're still fighting it. Leaders came together yesterday to discuss how to move on from the issue, how to get a strain of vaccine that is capable for the Bundibugyo virus. And of course, there's still a conversation, a lot of conversations still making the rounds concerning that issue. Meanwhile, I'll take to the very front side, with the top corner of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. EFCC arrests convicted ex-power minister. That's Salim Mama in Kaduna. That story is also of interest. And relief to airline operators as Dangote refinery reduces jet fuel price to 1,650 naira. That was also one of the news we brought to you a moment ago. Now, I think one of the biggest captions you will ever see this morning is on the right hand side, the top corner of the Nigerian Tribune. If you can trace with your eyes, you'll see a face there. It's the face of a man who has made history 22 years after. Arsenal wins English Premier League title after 22 years. That is a big one. You need to see the celebrations across board. People jubilating, and of course I know Dr. Amos and some other people will be as excited to see this story, but that's also making the rounds on the front page of newspapers. So if you want to blow in, ask the papers. If you want to probably fight me, you can have conversations with the papers. But of course, that's not the only story. I'll take a swipe away from that now. The Daily Sun newspaper to talk about the front page stories of Daily Sun newspaper. But of course, supremacy battle in APC over senatorial primaries is what the Sun, Daily Sun, has decided to put on the spotlight. And this time around, it says National Working Committee may override governors, party leaders amid rigging and manipulation allegations. That is a development. We've told you how that there's been considerations about primaries, about senatorial seats, and all of this in the country, especially with some parties, particularly APC. It seems now that they are getting a way out of this. We hope this is the case for them. Now, Oyo killing. Stop governing Nigeria by issuing obituary statements. Article hits Tinubu. That's about that conversation where the former vice president says to the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that she just stop giving out condolences. You know, you hear in the report that the president has expressed his condolence. You know, it's just one condolence to the other condolence. But I think we're saying enough of that. We don't want condolence, we want actions. But yes, that we'll keep our fingers crossed and see if there's going to be. Of course, just like they said, there are different coordinating units of the armed forces and of course the police force. According to the state governor, said they are beefing up security in certain regions, trying to get those abductees. And in fact, the government made note of something quite important, and what the governor said was that they are ready to negotiate if it comes down to that, just to ensure that the lives and property of people are safe. And that is also one of the most, we would say, is the paramount responsibility of any leader in a country, the lives and property of your people. So that comes first, right? But others will say, should the government negotiate with terrorists and abductors and bandits? That's on the other hand of conversation. But the most important thing is that lives are at risk. A lot of people are not having this, because obviously if it was your family member, you would not say the government should not do that. But the conversation still continues as we also keep traps on this and hope and pray that these people will be brought back home without being killed. And that's one of the prayers of many Nigerians as we raise our voice together against this inhumane situation we find ourselves. Now, Turaki led PDP waive screening requirements for Jonathan ahead of presidential primary. That is also something to check out this morning, as you can see on your screen. Turaki, the ABC-led faction of Turaki, they are, pulling their weight behind the former president Jonathan the belly. Meanwhile, we keep tabs on every of these ones now. Edo government vows to hunt Yahoo boys with same force used against cultists. Edo government vows to hunt Yahoo boys with same force used against cultists. This is also something to look out for this morning. Meanwhile, I'll take a swipe away from Daily Sun newspaper as well and get to the Punch newspaper to see a few stories making the rounds on the Punch newspaper. The Punch has the APC primaries as the biggest caption today. It says, governorship aspirants shown consensus deal in 10 states. That is of interest. Over 30 governorship aspirants set for primaries in 10 states. Plateau aspirant denies stepping down for Muchwangi. Also, Oborevori Yusuf Mba. 8 other governors emerge as consensus candidates. Abdurazak names Cherokee as successor. Danladi steps down as 12 others brace for primary. Also, that story is on the Punch newspaper, but the top corner of the Punch newspaper to the right says Cherokee-led PDP clears Jonathan for 2027 race. And then just a swipe to that, the other side of the pendulum, how EFCC tracked ex-minister Maman to Kaduna. That is also a read on the page, on the Punch newspaper, page 20 is where to catch up with that story. Danjuma saved Gowon's Abuja land from El Rufai. That's coming from Kuka as well. Federal government misses Q1, that's the first quarter tax target by 2.2 trillion naira. Pretty nice way to catch up on that story, despite the reforms, despite the change in power in terms of the Taiwan Oyedele replacing Wale Edun. Yeah, the federal government have missed out on the first quarter tax target by 2.2 trillion. Perhaps this is one of the reasons Taiwan Oyedele has been put into that office. But we'll keep tabs on see the subsequent development from this issue of tax and taxation in the country. Oti Abure truce crumbles amid Labour Party crisis. Oti and Abure truce crumbles amid Labour Party crisis. That story is also on the Punch newspaper this morning. Meanwhile, 40 South West local government under terror threat. That's coming from Iba Gani Adams. That's what they call him. Of course, page 3 on the Punch newspaper is where to catch up with this, saying 40 South West local government under terror threat. Well, anyway, let's do business on the Punch newspaper, and that business we call for Dangote, saying that Dangote unveils plan for multi-billion-dollar Olokola seaport. That is also coming from Dangote this morning on the Punch newspaper is where to catch up on that story. Aspirants fought APC senatorial primaries in Ekiti and others. Yes, there's a lot of conversations, counter-arguments, arguments made for and made against, especially about the senatorial primaries. There is, of course, in Ekiti, different angles to the story, especially with the APC. There seems to be a fracas among some people. Yes, what would you expect? I think it's something we've also said, that if everybody is moving to one party, over time, it will become congested. And it will be difficult to declutter that congestion. So you just have to deal with the congestion. If you think one place to go is the only place to go, then you can imagine that you have to slug it out in that place, because everybody is coming with an interest. Everybody is coming with an ambition to get the same spot you're eyeing. So if 10 people, 100 people are eyeing the same position, then it better be the survival of the fittest. But is that good? Well, it is good, because maybe they will get to know who the best candidate is. Maybe they'll get to debate and see who has the best policy prescription to offer, who has the best governance structure to offer, and that is one of the ways they will make their decision. But we hope it's not just by what they call the elite imposition of candidates, but whichever case, we'll keep our fingers crossed ahead of the elections. Now, I'll take a swipe also from the Punch newspaper to Daily Trust newspaper to see what the Daily Trust is trusting us with this morning. And the front page story of Daily Trust says, people told Tinubu I plan to kill him. And that's the vice president coming out to say that, Shetima coming out to say that, yes, it's not true, I did not do that. And the president was even aware, because there were clothes I gave him and then he wore it, and then he was unperturbed about the whole situation. But yes, that's the biggest caption on Daily Trust newspaper. But let's take some sub captions. It says, why I wrote autobiography. That's coming from Yakubu Gowon this morning. How EFCC arrested convicted ex-minister Maman is also featured on Daily Trust newspaper. El Rufai stabbed NSA's phone. Prosecution tells court. Yes, the case keeps unfolding every now and then. El Rufai tapped NSA's phone. Prosecution tells court. So there's a witness, or a prosecution witness, saying that yes, it's true that El Rufai tapped NSA's phone. But some would say, if you make this claim, you better have enough backing, or should we say enough evidence to present to the court to say, yes, this is what I'm saying, but the case is still ongoing as we keep tabs. Some have said, yes, this is political. It has been politicized because he's against this administration. Others are saying, well, whoever does the crime should do the time. So if you have been adjudged to be a criminal in the face of law, then you should really dance to the tune that you have produced. You are a beat maker, so dance to your beat, and that's the situation right there. But whichever angle or whichever divide you fall on, just understand that one thing we expect, one thing we pray for, is that justice prevails. And then the lady Justicia that was blindfolded, the object of justice in the country, should remain blindfolded to culture, race, profile, status, and what have you. And that's one prayer of many Nigerians today. Now, PDP faction clears Jonathan for presidential race. That's also a conversation on the Daily Trust newspaper that they have featured. I'll never forgive school teacher for allegedly raping my daughters. I know this is kind of story. You get to a story and then you have to take a deep breath to I don't know where to place this, but anyway, that is unfortunate. We don't want this. We don't encourage this. We would never ever say that people should do this, and it's so wrong for every reason. You can't abuse a minor. You can't abuse a minor. You can't abuse a minor. I think it's very clear in the face of law. It's very punishable on that law, and that's one of the things people. Because I saw a news yesterday, a disheartening one also, that an elderly man defiled a minor. And it's just, it brings a lot of, it's appalling, it's unbecoming, it's really bad, it's abysmal to say that you as an adult, you're looking for pleasure in a small child. Anyway, well, that's why some persons in some countries, they've moved for, stricter punishment. Some have said capital punishment is more preferable for those kind of people, that if you do that crime, you should do that big time, not just the time. Some are saying something else, but I don't want to mention some of the proposition of people to say, if you ever are caught in this web, this is what should happen to you. Some have come for decapitation, others for a lot of things as well, but it's still a story we keep having. But we hope and we pray that someday somehow people stop doing this kind of things in the country, because it's not just about that child, it's about the future of that child and every other person that is connected to that child, right? So you don't want to defile a minor and mess up their life, mess up their senses, mess up their understanding and approach to life, because someday somehow it's going to affect the bigger picture, and we don't want that to happen in the country. Meanwhile, let's take other stories. Son allegedly stabs father to death. Not very good again. You see, son allegedly stabs father to death. Page 16 is where to catch up on that story on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. I'll take a swipe right now, and this time around is to Daily Independent newspaper. Rising food prices spark calls for agricultural, tech, logistics, and investment. That story is on Daily Independent newspaper this morning. It captions it: rising food prices spark calls for agricultural, tech, logistics, and investments. Yes, that is necessary for any country that wants to produce maximally agriculturally, or perhaps see to food security. You have to invest heavily in these kind of things because the world is moving so fast. PDP grants Jonathan waiver, screens 12 Guba aspirants to screen 2,122 assembly, 748 reps, 198 senatorial, and 112 Guba aspirants. That's the PDP coming out with their report and what they are set to do. Perhaps they will say that's their stand-up. Their stand-up is telling what they want to do. Now, Nigeria bleeding on the government of post-tragedy press statement. That's coming from Atiku. Page 7 of Daily Independence is where to see that story. EFCC arrests fleeing convicted ex-power minister Maman. Pantami withdraws from APC, Guba race in Gombe. Cite violation of Electoral Act. Minister hails tax ombud office as key reform under Tinubu administration. That's also page 8 of Daily Independent newspaper this morning. Yes, that's also one. Of course, the top corner of Daily Independent newspaper is something to also look out for. 175 ISIS fighters, commanders killed in Nigeria, according to U.S. operations. That's coming from the defense headquarters, saying that 175 ISIS fighters and commanders killed in Nigeria and the U.S. operations. That's the DHQ says terrorists have no operational base in Southwest. That's also a conversation that is still making the rounds across as we have it. Go On's Life rebukes divisive narrative, stereotypes in Nigeria. That's coming from President Tinubu. Is saying, everybody is commending him to say that Go On's Life rebukes divisive or divisive narratives, stereotypes in Nigeria. That's coming from the president this morning. I'll take New Telegraph also. New Telegraph has the caption about 2027. How senators who defected to APC for refuge lost return ticket at primaries. That is a review this morning. As outcome, a mix of upsets, consensus victories, mass disqualification. That's page 2 and 6 is where to catch up on this very interesting story. 37 senators who defected from PDP, at least 41 other aspirants barred. Group protests alleged exclusion of Christians in Niger. That is also something to check out on the New Telegraph newspaper. Page 2 and 6 is where to catch up and read more on that story. Now, talking Ebola, U.S. stops visa services for 3 African nations. U.S. stops visa services for 3 African nations. That's on page 3 and 4 of the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. It's about Ebola virus. While some, I think the NCDC, the National Center for Disease Control in Nigeria, has also said that surveillance at borders should be tightened. Security should be beefed up, especially as to people who are moving from one place to the other, particularly from different countries in Africa, maybe around the world, to Nigeria, because there's the case of hantavirus I see hunting around. There's the case of Ebola and the new strain that is causing a lot of scare to people, and we understand that to be causing a lot of fatalities across the country and across the continent, I meant to say. Meanwhile, other stories: PDP clears Jonathan to contest 2027 presidency, and of course, yes, you see, high demand for Nigeria's jet A1 pushes earnings to 743 billion naira. While this is a development, particularly there's a bigger development that's coming from Dangote refinery and petrochemicals, saying that yes, they have subsidized in a way jet fuel for aviation people to be able to still manage the reporting reforms to help them to sustain, because we understand that some airline operators have stopped working in the last few days because of the shortage of fuel, and we understand this to not just be peculiar to Nigeria, but it's also the bigger picture of the global oil prices that is not stable, particularly the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the US, Iran, Israel, saga, and a lot of that is still affecting different sectors, different economy, and different countries as we have. But this situation has really taken its toll on the aviation industry in the country. But yes, Dangote is trying to do something. Meanwhile, the report is also reflecting that high demand for Nigeria's jets A1 has pushed earnings to 743 billion naira. Something to check out as well on the Telegraph newspaper this morning. Primaries: Senator Kalu thanks Tinubu, constituent APC after victory. Yes, Senator Kalu expressing appreciation to President Bola Tinubu and his constituents after APC's victory, the victory he had recently. And yes, that's a good one for him. Many persons are expecting their good to come as well, just the same way Arsenal's good came yesterday. EFCC arrests convicted ex-power Minister Salim Maman in Kano. But this conversation really should be brought to the table of discourse, because if he was said to be apprehended when he was fleeing, Meanwhile, there was this an arrest earlier to this, prior to this, that he's been charged and supposed to serve about 75 years imprisonment. So if he was supposed to serve that, why was he not apprehended at the time? Why was it that they had to make sure he did not run away before they caught him? And again, the bigger question that I would like to ask today is that why is it always so true of every person who has served in one position of authority or position of power in the country? Why is it always so that they have issues that they face shortly after their stay in office? Because this is really a prolonged question. To say, must everybody's hands be soiled? Because if you have to think about the Minister of Power, what did he do? There's an allegation of about 38.8 billion naira. And you see, this is not just about one person. So I'm saying it's not just about Maman, it's not just about one person or the other. It's not about just Alison Madwike or one person. It's about the general picture and how the structure allows for people to really do this. And these are one of the things you have to consider as a thing going forward, to say we should really check into the system much more than checking into personalities and people. Let's build structures that will be very impossible for people to steal and make and profit here from the national cake, in that sense. And this is one of the claims we are making. But of course, for want of time, we might need to shelve this particular segment of newspaper headlines and analysis and get to the next part of the conversation, and that's the big story with Oluwayemi Adelakun. But I'll be shortly after this break. Stay with us.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live like never before? Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
A nation's democracy is only as strong as the leaders who know when to lead and when to let go. Good morning and welcome to the big story on Daybreak Live. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. Today we examine a critical question shaping Nigeria's political future: leadership longevity, asset or liability to Nigeria's democracy. Does long-term leadership guarantee stability and experience, or does it weaken democratic growth, accountability, and fresh ideas? To help us unpack this important conversation, I'm joined by Ignatius Abosalime Fino, a respected public affairs analyst. Welcome on board, Fino.
Good morning, Jimmy.
Exactly. So today we want to talk about some leaders, who have stayed in power, for the longest, and then they still have interest of contesting, certain positions. So, at what point, does longevity, in leadership become overstay of power? Basically?
Thank you very much, Jimmy. When we are talking about politics is a game of power. The scrabble for political power, the scrabble for natural resources as well. Who controls what? Who gets what and how? So when we are talking about the game of power, there is one thing I've discovered in this country. The instinct called egocentrism. There is a natural instinct in everyone. But when it comes to the issue of politicians in this country, there is high-level egocentrism.
Okay.
And when we say egocentrism, it simply means what? Me, myself, and I. Personal interests above party interests. Personal interests above national interests. But there is one thing you must know. What does the Constitution say? For the president, the executive governor of a state, and for the local government chairman, there is a fixed term. Maximum of what? 2-term limit. 4 years each. So you can only be the Nigerian president for a maximum term of what? 2 terms in office, amounting to what? 8 years. The same thing applies to the executive governor of the state and also the executive chairman of a local government. But when you come to the issue of legislative arm of government, there is no fixed term. A senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has no fixed term. Member of the Federal House of Representatives have no fixed term. Member, State House of Assembly have no fixed term. But when we are talking about the executive arm of government, you have a fixed term, maximum of 2 terms in office. A term includes what? 4 years in office. But for now, there's one thing I've discovered, that in this country, those who are senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, some of them, because there is no fixed term for them, they want to be senators, if possible, forever. There are some of them, after completing, let me say, 8 years as senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, they also want to contest as executive governor of their states. Then from executive governor again, they want to spend 2 terms in office, making 8 years. Again, they also want to contest as president. For those who are also State House of Assembly too, the same thing also apply. But there's one thing you must also understand, that it is a failure on the part of the registered political party. Why?
What about the Constitution that allows for you to contest?
There is no internal democracy in every of these political party. If there was internal democracy, there is what called gentleman agreement. 2 aspirants are contesting for the same position in a political party. At the end of the day, there was a direct primaries or indirect primaries. One of them emerged. Normally, when you are an aspirant and you lose, you will accept defeat in good faith if you know that there was no compromise. If you know that the direct primaries was free and fair, you have to concede defeat. But there's one thing you also have to do. You must also support the winner, because you belong to the same party. But in the gentleman agreement, some political party will say that what happened is this: the person that has won this contest, you can only be there for 4 years, so that you give the loser opportunity again to contest. But do you know that there is always what we call the conspiracy theory among these politicians? The so-called loser may be aggrieved and work against the party, and also work against the aspirant that actually win in that contest. How do you explain that? That's one point. Again, the aspirant that wins the election may not want to comply with the gentleman agreement of a single term in office. He will now find a way of trying to assassinate the loser, because he knows that the loser has a political ambition in the next 4 years, and he doesn't want him to be there. Before you know it, what do you think? He feels threatened. He sees the loser as a threat to him, that this person, based on the gentleman agreement, this person will definitely succeed me just for a single term of 4 years. What am I going to do? I will find a way of blackmailing the person or trying to assassinate him. So there is no internal democracy in our political system in this country. There is no morality in it.
So you are saying it's not the duty of maybe the nation to actually work on the constitution. It's the duty of the political parties to ensure that when you contest, maybe you've been there for 8 or 12 years.
Yes.
It's time to step down.
Yeah, it's time for you to step down. Okay. But what about the issue of what we call the conspiracy theory? I've given you a vivid example.
Allow me link it to this issue now that's going on in Lagos State now. There's this candidate, her name is Honorable Barakat Bakari, and then she was on national TV recently and said that, she stepped down for Desmond Elliott in 2023, and then he has not been able to step down. I also watched, Desmond's interview. He said he's not going to step down for anybody, and then he's been there for about 12 years now. He's going to be 12 years, and next year. He said he's not going to step down, that he's going for the primaries. There was even a video of him, I think about 2 days ago, where he said his escort have been, taken from him. He doesn't want things like this to go on in the state. What do you make of that?
Because it's the fault of the political party.
Really?
There's no party supremacy in this country. Let me give you a vivid example that occurs in Oyo State. Oyo State happened to be the political headquarters, especially Ibadan, of Southwest region, when you're talking about the progressives. Oyo South Senatorial District have never for once elected a senator twice. I have my facts. Since 1999. I'm talking about Oyo South Senatorial District. In 1999 to 2003, it was Dr. Peter Adeyemo of AD, Alliance for Democracy. 2003 to 2007, it was the late Senator Chief Abiola Ajimobi of blessed memory of ANPP. He was the senator representing Oyo South Senatorial District from 2003 to 2007. Then from 2007 to 2011, it was Senator Kamorudin Adedibu, the son of the political generalissimo of Southwest Nigeria. You remember Alhaji Lamidi Adedibu? His son, Senator Kamorudin Adedibu of PDP, represented Oyo South Senatorial District. Then from 2011 to 2015, it was Senator Olufemi Lanleyin of Action Congress that was the senator representing what? Oyo South Senatorial District. Then from 2015 to 2019, it was Senator Ridwan Adesoji Akiremi, of what? Of ACN2 stroke APC, that was actually representing Oyo South. He was in APC. From 2015 to 2019, I'm talking about Senator Ridwan Adesoji Akiremi was the one representing Oyo South Senatorial District. Then from 2019 to 2023, it was Senator Moshood Kolawole Balogun MKB of PDP that represented Oyo South Senatorial District. And now we have what called Senator Oba Sarafadin Abiodun Ali, His Royal Majesty, because he has been pronounced a king. He's gazetted, he's a king.
He was absent.
I don't care whether he was absent or not. I have to refer a king because I'm an Eto man. Okay. In the Benin culture, that was why I said Senator Oba Sarafadin Abiodun Ali is the incumbent senator representing Oyo South Senatorial District.
Are you aware that he doesn't really refer to himself?
Of APC.
He doesn't refer to himself as a king.
What I know is that he's a king.
Okay.
So I'm an Edo man. We always revere kings in our own culture. So that was why I said His Royal Majesty Senator Oba Dr. Sarafadin Abiodun Ali is the incumbent senator representing Oyo South Senatorial District. So there is no senator that has been elected of the APC There is no senator in Oyo South that has been elected twice.
Okay, so how do you link it to the issue going on in Lagos?
No, you look at the peculiarity. When we are talking about Desmond Elliot, I told you constitutionally, there is no fixed term for them.
Right.
In America, there is a senator in America that has been there to date since 1981 as a senator.
Is that an ideal thing?
No, it is two-way thing. Sometimes it can become an asset. Sometimes it can become a liability. But there's one thing I keep saying it. When you are talking about internal democracies, there are several choices to make. Who do you blame? You blame the political party that is floating the same person. Then you also blame the constituents. The people within that voting for the same person. Probably the person is performing. Because when you are performing well, people are scared of the next aspirant.
Okay, so if people are scared of the next person, for instance, say somebody who's been there for over 40 years, so that means that in 100 years, that office might not express more than 2 persons. Does it mean that in the entire, maybe constituent now, we do not have more than 2 people in 100 years who can deliver to the people?
We have. So you blame the political party more, and you also blame the constituents.
What about addressing
what
we have in the constitution?
Even if a president is performing very well, and Nigerian currency is now $1 to $1, Nigeria will also say, let us give the opposition a trial. That they need a change. Even though the incumbent party is performing very well. Nobody can be in power forever. No political party can always be in power forever. That is why in a democratic society, there is always room for what we call a formidable opposition parties. There must be opposition parties. Sometimes you
in Nigeria, the opposition parties, are they formidable?
They are not formidable because of what? Egocentrism. The political bougazies that we have in this country, most of them, they don't value what we call national interest. What they are more interested is what? Personal interest. What do they stand to gain? Not what the country stands to gain. Because I believe that in a democratic order, when you nominate a candidate to represent your party, the maximum should be 2 terms in office. Then you give the other opponent, the other aspirant, opportunity too. That is how to do it. That is why today we have what we call anti-party activities. In every political party in Nigeria today, anti-party activities. When you are being denied your political right, you have been a member of the party right from the onset. But just because you don't have the money to spend, they will not bring in someone from overseas. As a human being, the tendency is there for you to react. We are all human beings. You will react. That is why we have been what we call anti-party activities.
Okay, let's talk about
internal democracy.
Let's talk about a popular celebrity now. You know, Cubana Chief Priest, right? Over the weekend, there was this particular news that we read that he lost, in that, contest for the primaries. But he came out to say, okay, I actually did not contest because the governor told me it's not my turn yet. And that's why I decided to step down and did not contest. What do you make of that situation?
The governor that said he should step down, is the governor now supporting her now?
Supporting who?
The person you are talking about.
He stepped down already. He didn't contest at all, even though he was the news broke that he lost, the primaries.
I remember one time like that, the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, of the African National Congress, he actually contested twice as president of South Africa and won the election. He was now seeking for a 3rd term.
Okay.
The people reacted. His political the members of the ANC reacted against him. Don't truncate democracy in South Africa. The party is bigger than you.
But do you agree with me?
They said, let's go for a national congress.
Okay.
They went for the national convention and he lost. And at the end of the day, they nominated Jacob Zuma. That is how to know a party supremacy. It will never happen in Nigeria.
Okay, what about other countries like Cameroon? Paul Biya ruled for over 40 years. Omar Bongo ruled for over 40 years. Some of these guys even handed over to the children. Even Togo, talk about, Nasibe, Eyadema, he ruled for close to 40 years. These guys were there, and then at the point of death, they had to hand over, to their children.
Are they democratic presidents? They are autocrats. They decided change their country's constitution to favor them. No term limit. You know, there's one thing I keep saying it over and over again. When you look at Africans, Africans are gullible. The leaders of Africans are oppressors. They know that Africans will not revolt against them. They know that if they rig elections, Africans will not revolt. That is where the problem lies. Do you know what happened? Do you know what caused the French Revolution?
Tell me, please.
Increase in the price of a loaf of bread. The French reacted and they revolted against their king. That is why when you are talking about a republican society, French happen to be the #1 in the world. They revolted. You came for Africa to revolt. They will not revolt. They will resort to what we call divine intervention. They will resort to what we call divine providence. That is why you see those oppressors loading it over. Did you know what happened in Africa some time ago? The Arab Spring that happened in Tunisia. And at the end of the day, it spread. There was a spread to Egypt. There was a change of government.
Let's take it back to Nigeria now. You know, the likes of David Mark, was in the Senate for about 20 years. I think from 1999 to 2019. Don't you think it's because of those standards that we set over time? And that's why some persons will feel, okay, there was somebody that was there for 20 years, so why can't I be there for 20 years as well?
It's not because of the standard at all.
So it's because
you blame the political party. Do they have ideology?
What about the individual?
Are they philosophers?
Okay.
Are they real leaders? The bugazis. They are political merchants. They are trading with the life and destiny of the good citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is the truth. No one party should rule a country forever. No matter how good the political party seems to be, there must be a change. Give the opposition a try or two. That is the beauty of democracy. But here now, we are having a particular party dominating the country for too many years in power. That is not democracy. Can you say China is a democratic country?
You tell me.
China is not a democratic country. Why should you have a one-party state? The Communist Party has been ruling China for years.
Okay, what is the
there
essence?
must be a change.
What is the
when
essence
you are talking about democracy?
Ofino, what's the essence of the multi-party system that we run in this country?
It allows
for people who are a member of the opposition party and they are also very active in the ruling party.
It allows for what we call choices. To make several choices. That's why we are talking about anti-party activity. It's the fault of the political party. Do you know why? There is no party discipline. Do you know that anti-party affairs is a grievous offense politically?
But I've seen people went on
national
TV who said...
I said traitor!
People have gone on national TV.
Traitors!
I
remember during the Civil War, Ojukwu, you know, those who actually had sustained injuries, Biafrans that sustained injuries at their back, Ojukwu said you should not treat them. They were not treated. Biafrans that sustained injuries at their back, that shows that they are Biafrans that are afraid. They ran away from the front line. But when you sustain injury in your front, Ojukwu will say, go and treat such a person. Those are the warriors and the valors of war. Now, when you are talking about party discipline, there must be party discipline. Any member of the party that is engaged in what we call anti-party activities or indulging in what we call the conspiracy theory should be sanctioned. Do you know what to do? You suspend such a member, you expel such a member.
Okay, now, there's this argument in town that it takes some level of experience to actually serve the people better. And that's why some persons will always fight for stay in power for as long as you want. Once you can deliver to the people. And then some other people are saying, no, it doesn't matter whether you're doing well for the people. At some point, you should step down. So should we prioritize expertise over maybe somebody who has no idea of what is going on, maybe within the Senate or the House?
How many of them you actually love this country that are patriots? You know, most of them, they are so egocentric. They are trying to build what we call political dynasty. I remember there was a rumor in Lagos State that Sheyi Tinubu, one of the illustrious sons of the executive president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, was also nursing the ambition to become the executive governor of Lagos State. We had it from the rumor mill. But there was agitation. We cannot serve your father and also serve you at the same time.
So are you saying he doesn't have the right to contest?
It is not a political dynasty.
Okay, are you saying he doesn't have a right to contest?
He has the right to contest. But we are talking about morality here now. That we cannot be serving your father at the level of the president and serving you as his biological son at the level of the state.
Okay, it should not be at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
Not at the same time.
No.
We have served them more than enough.
So what if
we have served them more than enough? It is not a political dynasty.
What if in the next 8 years, he decides to run for governorship?
And the people can also decide to vote against him.
You know that the daughter of OBJ, is trying to contest, for Ogun State.
He has every right to contest. But there was one time he contested and won as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in Ogun State. Right. Later they came out with a caption. The other people were not happy. Kò sí ọmọ bí Ìyábọ̀. That was the song. The other people were provoked. How will you say that there is no child as good as your own daughter, Iyabo Obasanjo Bello? That was what provoked the other people. And they decided to vote against Senator Iyabo Obasanjo Bello.
Okay.
Because of that slogan alone, kò sí ọmọ bí Iyabo. What does that mean? Are you telling us that your child is more superior than our own children?
All right. I think it's a fine place to leave the discussion, because according to you, it's not even about the constitution that allows these people to contest for as long as they want. It's about
the political parties
ensuring that these people step down for other persons.
Yes.
Big thanks to you, Fino.
Thank you for having me, Yimi.
This discussion. Democracy thrives not when power is permanent, but when leadership remains accountable to the people. It has been an insightful conversation on leadership, longevity, asset or liability to Nigeria's democracy, and my sincere appreciation to the guests for sharing his thought and analysis with us today. And of course, to the listeners, thank you for staying with us on Big Story. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako. We take a short break, and when we come back, we move on to Trend Watch. We'll be right back.
And thank you for staying with us. Of course, it's still, for me, still a lot of emotions. I'm trying to contain the emotions of what just happened with us now. By the way, now to the Trend Watch. What's trending in the country is what we need to talk about. And this time around is about Ondo State. Now, Ondo government shut down schools for APC House of Assembly primaries. So that's the big caption right there on Trend Watch today. Many conversations will erupt from this, definitely. Some questioning some things about this particular issue, that just House of Assembly primaries is why you're shutting down a old school or a old process of academic learning, and why should that be? So there's that conversation on the one hand. On the flip side, it's also a conversation of they probably are trying to ensure safety so that students will not be caught in the web of whatever is happening around the political spectrum and the political space in the state. So they can make a claim to say that we're doing this because we don't want students to be involved or to be wounded while everything is going on. And the other party will say, you cannot do this. Why would you shut down schools just for APC? Not just the general primaries now. This is just the House of Assembly primaries. So why would it be that difficult to do? But yes, this is the trend watch today. This was trending across the country. Yemi.
Right. So just like you mentioned, there will definitely be a lot of persons, coming out to say this is wrong, and some people saying this is right. But then, in a way, if you look at it, it's an aberration, of some sort. Because at the end of the day, I think in this country we do not really prioritize education, and then that's not to say that the governors and of course the presidency do not try their best. But are there other options for this particular primaries? Definitely, because I've seen some states, conduct their primaries, and then some had to use maybe all, some had to use some venues. All the venues are not schools. So I think, speaking about this current primaries that is happening across the state, maybe this is the first time I'm hearing that a school was shut down because of the primaries. Yes, okay. One argument might be we need to safeguard the lives of these people to ensure that the children do not get hurt, especially what is going on across the state. Especially talking about safety of these people. But at the end of the day, people might not take this lightly because I mean those kids deserve to be in school to be learning. So if the argument is now that we were trying to safeguard their lives, okay, maybe, but then it's not something that it should actually continue. Basically, we should prioritize their education, because any country who fails to invest in education, they will reap the benefits, sooner or later. We should be intentional, in saner climes. I'm not sure this would happen. There are other options, not one, not two, not three, of having these primaries, in other places except from the school. So these are the options that we should consider. I'm very sure that the state government will receive a lot of maybe backlash for this, to say, okay, there are better options. So maybe for the next one, something can be done. Maybe a better venue can actually be booked to have these primaries. Because at the end of the day, one thing I've noticed in this country is patterns. When you see a particular state do something, another state will wake up tomorrow and say, if that state can do it, what happens to us? We can also try it out. So we should not set certain patterns that can actually harm people, that can actually, do things that are not so good to people, in the nearest future. Let's get other options. If there are no options, understandable. But if there are other options, I mean, the state is actually, I don't know, how expensive can a venue be? In that particular state. Basically.
And then the beef up security in just that venue. I think you made a very valid point, because if you conduct it in a place or in places, and then you construct a security architecture around those places so that there's not going to be infiltration of thugs and all of that, that's okay. But to stop schooling, now this is the issue. If we can quantify or vet the impact and the implication of just a day out of school for students, then we'll probably take this as something serious. Because just one day out of school can affect, especially when it's not according to the timetable, the school curriculum. There's something to be learned that day. What happens to it? It gets, I don't know, maybe they will take it again. But that will also mean that whatever they're supposed to take for the next day would have to maybe shift it to another day. And so it affects, if you just look at, okay, here, it's just a day. It might not mean so much, but if you look at the academic structure and the curriculum of learning, you understand that this is just as important as saying this is unacceptable. Like you mentioned, in saner crimes, I'm not sure they would want to. They can do everything they want to do. Political, I'm saying politics is almost like a distraction to nation building in Nigeria. Because for every time you now see that different things, they are trying to do this, and it's because of politics. It's not just... I also
know that there was a time, it started like this, when people started mixing politics with religion. Now we are trying to mix politics with education. What else are we going to mix in the next 5 years with politics?
I wouldn't like that.
Maybe football.
Anyway, maybe it's because your team, Real Madrid, has not been doing well. But anyway,
really?
I'm saying, I'm saying that
that's a sort of job. I'll let it pass.
So basically, I'm hoping. I'm hoping that, like you said, this should be nipped, but we don't want a recurrence of this. We don't want a pattern. We don't want it. If any state is coming again to say this, please let's not even allow this. Because if this is just for House of Assembly primaries, what about the general primaries? What about the election day? What about how many breaks do we want to?
Imagine if you shut down Unilag because you want to have primaries.
So how many days do you want to have the students in class? We understand that even the time they have in class is short. We are trying to build a lot of things into their education sector for them to still have the best of education. But it's like the politics is still having its hand in all of these things. Right. And I think I'm just so tired of this situation. But let's take a few comments to see what Nigerians are saying. Sheikh Ibrahim Muhammad says God.
You cannot believe it.
Okay. Because I was going to say, is it God that said they should do that?
You can't believe it. So Oge is saying this is terrible. Shutting down schools for your party affairs shows how backward this APC wants Nigeria. That's your opinion. These people might actually come out to defend this in the next 2 days to say we were trying to do the best for the kids, and that's why we decided to use the scoop. basically?
I guess this is a good place to draw the conversations and to draw the curtains on the conversation today. And of course, like I said, I'm seeing the euphoria of what's happening to Arsenal across the country. I mean, a lot of thousands, even millions of fans are excited everywhere. And it's a good one after 22 years. So anyway, my name is Anulu Akwedo. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same station, and bye for now.
A big thanks to you for being a part of today's session. See you tomorrow. My name is Olayemi Adelakun. Bye for now.